Hey, what's good, everybody? I'd like to welcome you guys to a brand new episode of the Boombox Guru. So, in this episode, man, I'm doing another book review. I just got through reading another book that I've purchased recently, man. And that book is My Infamous Life by Prodigy. Hope you guys can see that pretty well. Originally released in 2012, man. I mean, prior to me getting this physical book, man, I used to listen to like the audio versions on YouTube, but I gotta tell you, having a physical copy of this book and reading it, it's just a whole nother experience, man. It's way better, at least for me, to have a book and just read those words, man, and kind of just get an idea of everything that Prodigy is discussing in this book, man. So I just finished this book, and it was a great read. I see why it was a bestseller, because it was a wonderful read, man. I dang near want to start it over and read it again. That's just how good it was, man. But I really enjoyed the book. So before I get into a bit of a review, I just want to, just in case people who may be viewing this channel who may not be familiar with who Prodigy is or who he was, Prodigy was one of the greatest lyricists in hip hop, man. A top-notch MC, man. Lyricism, man. And he was one half of the iconic hip hop duo Mobb Deep, along with Havoc, who was also an MC and producer, man. And they released a slew of classic records, in the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, man. They are top tier in hip hop, man. The infamous album Hell on Earth, Murder Music, Infamy, Shook Ones, Quiet Storm, Survival of the Fittest, Hey Love featuring 112, The Learning. Let's see here, what else? So many classics, man. I mean, so many even deep cut classics, man. Like Right Back at You, Eye for an Eye. They were the reason why East Coast hip hop. They brought East Coast hip hop back to prominence in the mid '90s, man. And not Havoc, but Prodigy, man. He was seen as one of the best lyricists in hip hop, man. And he had a pretty moderate, well, maybe not moderate, but he had a pretty successful solo career as well. His first solo album, HNIC, is considered a classic. He had a few other solo albums in between there. I know the later ones, like the collaborations he did with producer Alchemist, Return of the Mac, Albert Einstein, are considered classics as well as his last album. That's considered a classic as well. The Hegelian, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, the Hegelian dialect. Yeah, that was the last album he did right before he passed away. And he unfortunately did pass away back in 2017 due to complications with his sickle cell. Although there have been some theories surrounding his death that I'm not going to get into, because they're only theories. Nothing's concrete. It's just things that people have said because of Prodigy's subject matter. He started to become more conscious and political in his music, and some people have led to theories surrounding his death. But like I said, those are only theories, man. But prior to his passing, man, he had did some time in prison. He did like 3 years for, he caught a gun charge, and he actually wrote his autobiography, My Infamous Life. I think he actually started on this book before he got locked up, but he really went into it during his time, the 3 years that he was behind bars, man. And he just talked about his life, man. Him growing up in Long Island, his grandmother. Some people don't know that Prodigy, he had a famous grandfather named Bud Johnson, who was a famous jazz musician. His grandmother operated a prestigious dance school in Long Island, where a lot of famous people were her clients, were her students and stuff of that nature. So he had a pretty interesting upbringing, man. On this one side, he had this kind of, I guess, elegant, sort of kind of prestigious upbringing, but then on the other side, he had like the hood and things of that nature, man. So he kind of got the best of, I don't know if that's the best way to describe it, the best of both worlds, or two sides of it, you know what I mean? So he goes into that a lot. He describes that, and it was really cool to hear him talk about growing up, his parents and the experiences he had with them, especially his dad, man. Like, I'm not gonna give any spoilers, but his dad was something else, man, and he had some interesting adventures with his father, and he talks about finally, like, getting to Queensbridge and things of that nature, meeting Havoc and Nas and Cormega and the infamous Mob, all those people that at the time they weren't household names. They were still on the block rapping and things of that nature. And it was just interesting to hear him tell stories about first meeting these people before any of them were famous names. It was really cool, man. And I also like the dynamic he kind of described between him and Nas. In the book, it kind of seems like him and Nas weren't necessarily enemies, but there was always a bit of like a rivalry, like a competition between the two of them. So, and it dates back to before either one of them was even famous, man, from like when they first battled each other and things of that nature. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then, he goes into his like personal relationship with his wife, Kiki, their kid, them having kids, but also like the ups and downs of their relationship, infidelities, things of that nature. He goes into a lot of beef. There's a lot of beef that goes along with this in this book too. A lot of street beef, and a lot of guns. Cause I remember when Prodigy first passed away and Havoc did that interview on Vlad TV. He talked about how Prodigy really like carrying guns, and dude, man, Prodigy talks about a lot of guns on this book, man. He talks about all the types of guns he used to have and carry, and where he used to stash them and things of that nature, man. So a lot of gun talk, man, and it's just really cool for him telling these stories behind like what took place during recording the certain albums and things of that nature, like what was going on, things that I didn't know about, or he goes into more in-depth description about things that happened that I did know about from his perspective. He talks about the beefs, the rivalries. He talks about how the whole thing between him and Jay-Z got started and everything like that, man. It was just a really good book, man. And I only had the book for like 3 days, and I finished it because it was just that good, man. He did a really good job at vividly describing all these situations, man. Like everything that he talked about, I could vividly imagine. I can vividly imagine him when he's telling the project stories, man. I can vividly imagine him being in those projects and stuff and what he was doing and things of that nature, man. He lived a very interesting life, man. A lot of cowboy type stuff, man. Like there was some situations where it's like, dang, man, how did he make it out of that? You know what I mean? It's like he had some close calls, where he could have been taken out years ago and things of that nature, but he didn't. And he also goes into like how his mind was beginning to change, how he started reading different books, and how it started to affect his mental state. How he started to grow and progress as a person, and then how he started to make more positive changes in his life. As well as he does go into detail about his battle with sickle cell, the pain that he endured, and how it had affected him spiritually as a person, and all the different types of times he had to go into the hospital and such, man. And it was just a really good book, man, and I highly recommend it for anybody, especially if you're a fan of hip hop, man. Definitely pick this book up and read it. I would recommend it for anybody that's a reader, man. I don't necessarily think you have to necessarily be a huge fan of hip hop, man. The book, the stories are just that interesting, man. It was just really cool, man. And like I said, man, I really enjoyed the book. R.I.P. to Prodigy, man. Definitely one of the greatest lyricists in hip hop, man. That was a big blow to hip hop, man. When he passed away, man. I remember that day when I saw it on the internet that he had passed away. I was like, man, Prodigy gone now? That was a big blow, man. And even reading this book, man, I've been going back and looking at interviews and stuff where he's talking about a lot of situations that he described in the book. And the same thing he says in those interviews is the same as that thing that he says in the book, man. So I'm more inclined to like kind of believe his side of the story. And of course, this book did cause a lot of controversy when it came out, mainly in the hip hop community, because there were a lot of names that he he dropped in the book, and he didn't shy away from telling how he felt about certain individuals in the book, man. That's another thing, man. He he said some names, talked about some people. Of course, there were some names that he changed. I guess he had to do for legal reasons, but he changed it to a point where you could kind of think about it and you would kind of know who he was talking about. He just slightly made a change to the name to where it's like, oh, I know exactly who he's talking about. But I guess for legal reasons or whatever, he had to make those like alterations or whatever. But it sparked a lot of controversy, man, because most of you know that when Prodigy passed away, they actually put up a mural in Queensbridge of him in his honor, and it kept getting destroyed. Somebody kept throwing paint on it, and from what I remember, man, it was somebody from prison. It was some shot caller from prison who was having his people on the outside do that, because Prodigy had said something about them in the book that they didn't like. So, the mural kept getting destroyed, and eventually they just took it down, and I think they put it up I think it's in Long Island now, because that's where Prodigy's originally from. He's from Long Island, but he put on so hard for Queensbridge, man. You just gotta say that Prodigy is Queensbridge. You know what I mean? And so yeah, it did come with a lot of controversy, man. Because like I said, he didn't shy away from how he felt about people, especially people that he did not like. I mean, there's some things in here that he openly showed his delight for people like Ja Rule and such, man. I don't mean to spoil it for you, but if it was somebody he was talking about that he didn't like, man, Prodigy didn't hold back. He expressed how he really felt about those certain individuals, man. So, and that's also another thing that I kind of liked about the book, man. He told his story, and he told it the way he wanted to. So that was really cool, man. But yeah, man, My Infamous Life by Prodigy, man. Like, yeah, man, definitely get this book, man. Awesome book. I highly enjoyed it, man. I'm kind of mad that I'm done with it already, but it was just that good. Any spare time I had, I read this book. When I got up in the morning after doing my calisthenics and stuff, I read it. On my breaks and lunch breaks at work, I read it. Even when I got home from work and I did my daily routine, I would sit back and read this. And, sometimes I'll have to force myself to put the book down, because, I need to go to bed and go to sleep right now and stuff of that nature, man. But that's just how good this book was, man. And I really enjoyed it. I know I'm a bit late to the party as far as getting the book, but I don't know. I think now was the right time to get the book. Like I said, I had been listening to like excerpts on YouTube with him telling these stories, and that's what just made me want to just go ahead and purchase a physical copy and read it for myself, man. It was just really cool to hear a lot of these stories, especially like when he talks about them recording certain songs and working on albums. Like, it was just really cool to get his perspective and get a more in-depth analysis of what went on during that period, man. And it's just a really good book, man, and I highly recommend it. All right, so that's it for this video, man. This is my book review on Prodigy's My Infamous Life. Hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up and give me a like. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you'll be notified anytime I drop new content. Also, I want to thank all my subscribers, old and new, everybody that's been taking the time to watch the channel. I surely do appreciate it. And as always, hope everybody has a blessed day, a blessed week, and love, peace, and music. Peace out.